What's going on today, guys? My name is Brittany Harris. I'm a senior college student, and I'm here to present you guys with a presentation on a very serious subject that's going on right now. I'm also presenting this for my CRJ 490 Special Topics Game class, so you can probably get the feel of what this topic is going to be about. But back to it, this topic is on a serious problem involving our youth. We need to try to figure out ways to protect our youth from joining gangs. It's so sad, but majority members of our gangs are youth between the ages of 11 and 17. So as adults of society, we need to try to figure out ways to stop them from joining, because unfortunately, once young members join a gang, it's very hard to get them out. So let's figure out ways and try to figure out what we can do to keep our children away from this very dangerous lifestyle. You guys ready? Let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start this presentation off by explaining the reasons why youth join gangs in the first place. We need to know the reasons why they even decide to get with these bad organizations. But, you know, unfortunately, there are many reasons why youth decide to join gangs, but there is instances sometimes where youth are actually are being pulled in and pushed in instead of just wanting to join opportunity. But there are, a majority of the members just go to games because they want to, but some are actually being pulled in. But one reason for youth joining is to seek protection. Many members join, they live in areas where it's a high violence crime and it's a high area of gangs, so they feel like they'll have a better sense of protection if they just go ahead and join a gang and not have to worry about being attacked because they're not part of a gang. Another reason is because they want a sense of family love. Now, they want a sense of self-worth and status. So majority of members state that these gangs function as an extension of family and provide the lack of companionship that are in homes. And so the children, they just really want a sense of belonging and loyalty and acceptance. Many youth join gangs for identity and recognition. Now, this actually is very common for anybody to join a gang, is because they want a sense of identity and other things like that. Intimidation plays another big role for joining gangs. They want to intimidate others in the community, especially members, people who are not part of gangs. They just want to feel like they overpower them by being, this very dominant figure who is in a very bad organization, and that if you come across them wrong, you're basically coming across the gang wrong, and you don't want that to happen. The biggest reason for me is because they want a more financial gain. They want more money in their pocket, more possessions. And I'm not just talking about money and jewelry. Most gangs are associated with drugs, and so that gives them a free, hand of drugs to put in their pocket, or if they want, they use or things like that. But earlier when I stated that, many youths are pulled into the gangs, that comes from peer pressure. They have many family members that are, there are kids out there who live around nothing but gangs, and most of their family and friends are part of gangs, so they may be pressured to be pulled into a gang or to, be joined by a gang. And they might even live in neighborhoods where being a part of a gang is a sense of life. You can't survive unless you be part of a gang. So those are the main reasons in my book why youth join gangs, and that really, really needs to decrease for them to have a stable and violent-free lifestyle. So along with reasons, we need to also take a look at the risk factors that is behind the reasons why youth join gangs in the first place. This is basically like the history behind the reasons why youth join. But the number one reason in my book, hands down, is that youth are experiencing antisocial behavior. This includes early form of delinquency, violence, aggression, and even sexual activities. All these behaviors, as these behaviors worsen, this will increase youth's chance of joining. The second factor is alcohol and drug use. These also predict joining the gang. Using an extensive amount of drug and alcohol increases negative and aggression behavior, which is very likely in gangs. You don't see too many gang members that haven't experienced some form of aggression in their life, some negative event, things like that. I'm going to talk about that later on. There has even been researchers stating that mental health problems is a reason behind some of the reasons that youth join. Mental health problems, which include conduct disorder, hyperactivities, and even depression. Depression plays a very big role in some youth joining gangs. But back to experiencing negative life events, that's a big one right there. Increasing joining these dangerous organizations, includes failing a course at school, getting suspended, losing a very close loved one, breaking up with a boyfriend or girlfriend. This all goes back to the mind frame like with the youth, because during their youth ages, this is a very fragile time, so anything can affect the brain and could end up to them choosing bad choices. The last but certainly not least risk factor is victimization. There's not been too many times where you've not heard of youth being a victim of something, and that leads them to wanting to join a gang for protection. Being abused, being raped, assaults, all those right there can lead to a youth joining a gang and wanting to seek protection and make sure that that does not happen to them at all anymore. Okay, so what follows after the reasons usually is warning signs. This is what parents need to look for to see if their child is in a gang or have the mind frame of maybe even joining one. So here's what the parents and anybody, guardians, godmothers, godfathers, doesn't matter. This is the signs that you need to look for if your youth is even attempting to want to join a gang. They may admit to having, hanging out with kids who are with gangs. They have a huge interest in gang influences like music videos, websites, uh, you know, video games. Very, very important is game-related video games. Make sure you watch out for that. They use hand signals to communicate instead of talking. They have unexplained, bruises on their faces. They have a huge amounts of cash, including jewelry and things like that in their pocket. They have a very negative vibe and behavior towards the family for no apparent reason, so they always stay distant from the family. They have had, they've ran into trouble with the cops. They're always in trouble with the law. But the number one you should look for is if they are carrying a gun. If they are carrying a gun, usually that youth is part of a gang already. So there are plenty more signs to see when it comes to youth joining gangs. But the ones I stated, if you have noticed these, actions need to be taken and taken fast because that youth is already in a gang or at least one step away from joining one. Alright guys, so let's get started talking about ways to prevent youth from joining gangs. Now this slide, hands down, is for the parents, guardians, and family because you guys are the number one people who are the ones that can prevent youth from joining gangs, hands down. Because the environment that the youth is in is very, very critical. You have to make it a positive environment, and this will decrease them from wanting to go into gangs. So parents and guardians, this slide is for you. So the way that you guys can prevent your children from joining gangs is by spending more quality time with them. Let them know that you care and that you're there for them. Getting more involved in school activities. Stay after school with them. Be a positive role model. Be a motivator for good things. Encourage good habits, especially with academics. Children who stay in school are less likely to be on the street and get involved with gangs. Teach your child to cope with peer pressure. Because like I stated earlier, many children are being pulled and pushed into gangs. So help them cope. Teach the child the dangers and consequences of joining gangs, which can include jail time or even murder. Parents can even take another step by joining neighborhood alliances, removing graffiti. Graffiti is the artwork that lets everybody know that gangs are there. So getting that removed will not really let children be aware that they're around, and that can decrease their becoming involved in them. And if a child has a stable support system, which is their parent, it's very unlikely that they will join a gang because usually, like I said earlier, children join gangs for protection, family love. If they already have that stability and everything at home, that's very less likely that they will join a gang. Gangs are such a very scary phenomenon in our nation. No one wants their child or youth to be involved in that type of situation or organization or even environment. So the second way to prevent youth from joining these bad organizations is to have communities become more involved, to become a whole with everyone as one. Along with classrooms, communities should be regarded as a valuable resource for reaching kids at risk of joining gangs. Communities can help by strengthening families and schools. They can help improve community supervisions. They can even train teachers and parents to manage disruptive youth, and teach students interpersonal skills. The community, this one big, small, you can call it big or you can call it small, group of people can do so much and affect so many things that we just don't know. But we have to try to come together no matter what the differences are. But we do share one similarity, That is that we want our children to live safe and happy lives, and that's not going to happen if they're in a gang. Gang prevention programs have huge effects on the community. The main reason for that is because citizens and society come together as one and make programs to prevent gang violence and decrease memberships. Now, almost every town in the United States has some form of a gang prevention program. No matter how small or big the town is, these programs are very much needed because youth violence is widespread in the United States. It is the second leading cause of death among young people between the ages of 10 to 24. Programs include youth violence prevention programs that support activities to prevent, eliminate, or reduce violence to or by children. Gang reduction programs are programs that usually consist of services that work together to provide resources for families who are, let's say, are somehow involved in gang violence. Either their youth are trying to join or they're already in. They provide resources to help keep them in a very safe environment and try to keep their children away from that type of environment. Programs are major benefits for the community. These programs let youth know that their lives have meaning, and that does not involve being in the gang. Schools are very much part of the community, but the environment itself is very effective in helping youth stay away from gangs. Providing a safe environment to ensure that students are not fearful might be the single most important thing schools can do to prevent kids from joining these very bad organizations. Community schools need to be strong in order to be very effective. Effective programs include offering students special outreach programs and after-school programs as an alternative to gang memberships. Teachers and administrators can give students respect and exhibit genuine concern. Many use join gangs just for respect and belonging. Teachers and administrators are hands down basically the guardians while children are at school. So no matter what time of day, they need to feel like they have a sense of belonging and respect, and no type of intimidation of going to a teacher and asking for help. Now, schools can also organize crisis intervention teams to counsel students coping with troubled violences in and out of school. Schools can even emphasize self-esteem, support, or initiate after-school activities like sports. Staying focused on sports and other activities will help keep the youth from out of the streets and more into those books. Now, schools who are aware of areas and times are the most vulnerable for gang activities is a very, very critical and most important thing. Areas like the cafeteria, the bathroom, parking lots, courtyards, and even the hallways are very serious areas that teachers and administrators need to stay supervised and focused on, because one individual can change the outcome of a whole entire group of people. So teachers and administrators need to stay focused on what those students are doing. Law enforcement can play a major role in preventing youth from joining gangs. Police officers can enhance their role as the crime fighter by collaborating or getting together with public health, community, schools, and other public and private partnerships on prevention strategies. Protecting and serving the community is their job. It's the daily thing for them. Law enforcement can help the community effort to prevent kids from joining gangs by gathering better knowledge of where gang problems exist and who is vulnerable for membership. Police departments can increase their partnership with community groups and agencies that are trying to reduce the attraction of gangs. This improves and builds the community and police trust and their bond to be able to break down these gang activities. There are many law enforcement agencies which include DARE, GREAT, there are so many of them out there, and they all have one job, which is to protect our youth from these harmful activities. Law enforcement can tell youth what they have seen and witnessed firsthand, from going to jail to even being killed, are usually the outcomes of joining gangs. So police officers can explain their experiences that can very much get inside their youth minds, and they'll be able to sense what the police officers are talking about, and maybe this can and will decrease their way of involvement and wanting to be in a gang. So unfortunately, young gang membership is growing rapidly in the United States. These youth are our future. By preventing youth from joining gangs in the first place can be significant in improving their chances for them to live a productive and happy life. That's what we all want, for our children to live productive, happy lives, for them to be able to grow up and see adulthood. And that's probably 9 times out of 10 not going to happen if they join gangs. So by working together to focus on prevention of gang membership, we can change the course of the future for our kids. The impact of gang membership and the burden it places on society is very significant. We need more fruitful strategies for dealing with gangs, and we need more citizens who will be willing to emphasize on prevention and intervention. We want our kids to be able to see, the life that they will live as adults, and that will not happen if they start off young in a criminalized organization. Alright, you guys, I thank you so much for staying with me watching this presentation. I hope you learned as much as I did as I created it. And you guys continue to stay blessed and you have a great day. Once again, thank you.